welcome back into This Is Anfield, the weekly edition. This week we're going to be discussing the big win at Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. We'll talk about Fabinho's performance at centre-back and does that nullify the need to bring in a player at that position. We also saw a debut for Thiago and we also saw the signing this week of Diogo Jota, so we'll talk about that as well. And then we'll look ahead to Lincoln, where we'll maybe predict wholesale changes, what players need to play in that game as we move into Arsenal next week in the Premier League. Joined again by Matt Ladson and Chris Williams. I'm Keith Costigan. And Matt, I'll kick it off with you. You had asked for a Mourinho-like performance, and I thought in the first half it was a really cagey 0-0. The red card opens it up, and then after that Liverpool were really in control, maybe in control before as well.
Yeah, I think it was more that Lampard was the one producing the Mourinho-like performance. You know, it was very sort of defensive, look and protect. And I think that Lampard might have actually been very happy with a 0-0 if he could have got away with that. But I think that Liverpool, even though it wasn't until the second half that obviously we got the breakthrough, controlled the game in the first half, no major issues anywhere at any point in the game. Four positives. Obviously, Mane's goals are superb. Really well worked, the first one. Second one, you know, we've all seen it. It's brilliant the way that he recovers so well and you know, totally mugs off Kepa, which it seems that was something that was a direct plan, because both Mane and Klopp spoke about it post-match, that it was something that they, you know, deliberately intended to press the goalkeeper. So it's nice to see little things like that come off. And yeah, 6 points clear of Man City already at the time of speaking.
Well, I was waiting for the, you know, Man City still haven't won a league game this season. You know, you have the crazy stats, the stupid stats. But Chris, I'll go to you. I mean, obviously great to get the win, great to get the 3 points. But last week I thought the team looked a little bit disconnected defensively. To get the clean sheet today with Fabinho dropping in, who I thought was absolutely sensational at centre-back. What does that mean for the team moving forward? What does that mean for Jurgen Klopp as well?
I think Fabinho coming in did a sensational job. I was really worried with that matchup with him and Timo Werner because, you know, you'll know as well as I do how fast he can be, especially when he likes to cut in and aim for the central defenders. I thought he did a stand-up job. I think he lost him once, ended up with the penalty, but that was due to Thiago's tackle, just about tackle. I thought Fabinho was excellent. I mean, if that is our backup centre-back possibility, I'm more than happy with that because, you know, he can do that excellently. I mean, I was really surprised. And obviously, I know he's a good player, and I've seen him do that before. I think he stepped in against Bayern in that position. But today, he just blew me away. He was so composed on the ball. He didn't do any rash challenges, didn't make any rash decisions, certainly pocketed Werner for most of the game. So, yeah, I mean, if he is that backup centre-back, I'm happy, very happy.
Yeah, I think, Matt, on this, people get wrapped up in pace, right? They say, Timo Werner's quick, you want to have Joe Gomez because he's just as quick and make it a race. But for me, I don't think many people read the game as well as Fabinho, whether it be as a six and today as a centre-back. So I looked at his performance. I thought it was sensational. I think he's our best six, our most natural number six in terms of winning the ball back, defending in open spaces. But he may very well be our best second centre-back to Virgil van Dijk as well, from what we've seen today.
Yeah, I mean, you say about like the pace thing, but Sami Hyypiä definitely didn't have pace. And, you know, he was one of Liverpool's best ever centre-half. So, you know, you kind of make up for it in how good you are actually at reading the game. Stefan Henshaw wasn't that fast. And, you know, Henshaw and Hyypiä together were, you know, quite a solid partnership. So, you know, I don't think that pace is necessarily the main ingredient for a centre-back. I think Fabinho has shown it's just such a versatile and clever player. I think that's what it is. He's just really intelligent. Obviously, we are still being kind of linked with a centre-back this summer, and it might be the one that would, if there was going to be another signing. Obviously, Chris, I think that you sort of had a little bit of information from the Schalke lads. You want to tell us about that?
Yeah, sure. So I spoke to some people I know at Schalke who said that Liverpool had contacted them about Ozan Kabak twice within the last couple of months. But Schalke are very much of the mind officially that he's not for sale. I'm probably aware that they were beaten quite comprehensively by Bayern 8-0. Happens to some of the best teams in the world. Don't let that take away from how good a player he is at his age, especially. But yeah, they're pretty much keen on keeping hold of him. He's got a release clause that comes in July for around 45 million euros. They would maybe think again. I was told on Friday evening, I was told they'd think again if they got an offer somewhere around 25 million euros. But I personally, and speaking from some other people over Saturday and Sunday, I think it would need to be a lot higher than that. Maybe 30, maybe even 35 million euros to take him off their hands now. And I don't think Liverpool would be happy to pay that. And Schalke certainly wouldn't be happy to receive it in installments like what we've seen with Thiago and Jota. So it looks like we are definitely interested. But at this period in time, unless something drastically changes, I don't really think it's that much of a goer.
On that, Chris, I would be interested to see, Schalke have done this deal with Juventus or Weston McKennie, where he's gone on loan initially for a smaller fee with the bigger fee kicking in next year. Liverpool have a lot of players now at the edge of the squad, whether if they did decide to do it, whether Liverpool might be able to throw a player in on loan, maybe even someone like a Divock Origi, because they're desperately in need of some quality in pretty much every area of the field for me this year, Schalke. Whether players would want to go is another thing. But again, for me, looking at Fabinho, I think Kabaka would be coming in as a fifth choice centre back. I really do, because I like him. He's a good player, good on the ball, good profile. But I don't see this seasoned Liverpool team allowing a younger centre back to come in and develop, almost like Brewster up front. They haven't done that with him. I wouldn't see them doing it with Kabaka either. So it's going to be an interesting story to see how it plays out. But that's one potential signing. We were all excited to see the new signing in Thiago. It was a long, drawn-out affair. Great couple of days with the club announcing him. Some great videos from some of the fans. What did you guys? I mean, Matt, I'll go to you first on this. What did you make of his performance against 10 men? Probably not the best way to judge, but some promising signs in the 45 he played.
Yeah, he's just a delightful footballer, isn't he? He's one of them that it's just. It sounds cliche to say that he uses class, but he does. And it's just a player that you enjoy watching him play. There was a couple of times where there was sort of an easier pass where you can even see like the Chelsea player is expecting just a simple pass out to the fullback or to the other centre back, and instead he'll push it in around the corner, and you've broken that line already through midfield, and now you're hitting their defensive line straight off the bat. And it's how often he plays the ball forward with such pace. I think there was a couple of times where maybe Gini received the ball and he was kind of not expecting it to have such pace on it. And you can imagine that this week at Melwood, the players are going to be getting used to receiving them passes from him. And then that will improve further as they understand, the weight of his pass, and he's pinging them in nice and quick. But, we're all going to talk about Thiago, but I thought Henderson was really good in the first half as well. And this is the Thiago effect, though, where we spoke about it before, that bringing somebody in creates that competition and makes other players up their game again. So it was no surprise that Henderson, he gets the nod in the holding roles today, but then he goes and ups his game because he knows he's got Thiago now. So it's this effect of bringing in a player of absolute world-class quality that is going to raise everybody's game. So absolutely superb. What a week for the club.
Chris, it kind of reminded me of when Van Dijk signed. Normally, Klopp's a little bit hesitant with new signings. They need time to bet. We saw that with Fabinho, Ox. You got the sense that Klopp was itching to get him on the field today, and we both covered the Bundesliga. For the Liverpool fans that haven't watched him, he is so good at playing those passes. But for me, there was a couple of moments there where you saw him intercept plays as well. He really reads the game defensively well in the middle of those midfield areas. So I was very pleased with what I saw. I think he's going to fit right in with this team.
Yeah, and people do think about how he makes that attack, but you're quite right. His defensive play is superb. There's a couple of times he stopped that Chelsea forward line getting on the ball and trying to break forward. He did that for Bayern for years. He sniffs it out, he cuts it out, and then he drops his left shoulder, and next thing you know, the ball is either pinged 30, 40 yards into someone's feet in the channel, or he's driving at pace through the middle. And there was one particular pass he did, and it was around about halfway through the second half, where the ball came into him, and just one touch, he fizzed it straight through the centre. And I think it's about 5 Chelsea players out, and that's a nice little indication of what he can do. And also when he's in the centre, there's a few times he just nonchalantly whipped the ball over to Robertson or Mane, who are out on that left-hand side. And once again, it just offers that extra plan B. I think I said it last time when we spoke about it. He gives Liverpool an extra option, which of course makes it a nightmare for managers to then try and combat that option. Because you look after Thiago, all of a sudden you've got 2 high wing-backs who are free and can do whatever they want.
Well, you heard the comments from Karl-Heinz Rummenigge today, if you're watching German television, that he said that it was emotional for him. Thiago cried in his arms. I don't know. Karl-Heinz Rummenigge is quite colourful with his comments at the best of times. But it's not just how good he is, Matt. He seems like he has that world-class level, but he doesn't have an arrogance about him in terms of doing the work. And that's so important to fit in under Jurgen Klopp for me.
Yeah, I think that's something that maybe gets overlooked in Liverpool's recruitment in general over the last 4 or 5 years, is that the character of the player has been so important in terms of the recruitment, and the reference in that. And I think back to maybe 8-10 years ago, whatever, and you kind of look through the squad and, there wasn't any that you felt had an affinity with the club or the community or the city or understanding of the culture. Maybe you didn't really expect them. They're not like the type of player that your kids you would want them to be necessarily their best role model. But now you look through this squad and you're like, literally every single player is a perfect role model in terms of not just on the pitch, but like everything that they do. Thiago comes in, he can speak the language perfect already, which is highly impressive, by the way. It seems like his character is superb. It's just going to give everybody a boost around the club. And I think we've signed an absolute gem. I mean, people talk about him being 29, but he's pretty much the same age as like Van Dijk and players like that. 4-year contract, he's still going to be contributing in 3-4 years' time.
And it's not the pace even with him, is it? He reads the game so well. So it kind of reminds me of when Bayern signed Xabi Alonso, that kind of signing where it's like, look, these players read the game, that their understanding of the game and spaces is so good. But this wasn't on our original rundown, but I'm going to throw it in. No discussion on it. Matt, a few years ago, I always remembered on Champions League days, I would see Liverpool's midfield and it would be Milner, Wijnaldum, Henderson, and I would go straight to your Twitter feed because I was like, Matt's going to be annoyed. I knew you didn't like that midfield 3. So many options in there now. Chris, I'll go to you first. I'll give Matt time to set up his midfield 3. With all the options, what is your ideal Liverpool midfield 3 right now?
Right now, right this second, it would be Fabinho in a holding role with Thiago and Nabilad. But Henderson rotating in there because of what Matt said. He makes everybody up their game, and I'd throw him in there for the moment because I think Henderson's just carrying something. He can only do 45 here and there, and it's going to take maybe a little time for him to get back to his best, although he was very good for those 45. But yeah, the next game against Arsenal, I'd like to see those 3, maybe just for 45 minutes, see what they can do, because Thiago and Naby Keita together, I think, is something that will strike fear into not just Premier League players, but Champions League players as well.
What do you think, Matt? What do you got?
Yeah, I think that midfield 3 is like the sort of the most beautiful one that everybody is imagining. But right now, at this moment in time, I would have Henderson over Naby. I think that what he puts into the whole team is great. And Keita's not quite done it yet. He's shown flashes, but he's not dominating a game. And I think that if you was an opponent, you would rather Keita be playing against you than Henderson at the moment. I think that Henderson brings out better of those around him as well. So for me, it would probably be Fabinho, Thiago and Hendo, which is harsh on Gini because obviously
there's no wrong answers here. I'm going to go a different one. See what you guys think. I'm going to say for me, it's Henderson as a holder, it's Thiago and it's Gini, and I'd have Fabinho at centre-back the way he played today. I really did. I wasn't impressed with Gomez at the end of last season. For me, it's not just a case of you're fit, you play. I think that way is reading of the game, particularly against teams that sit back against us and try break. I think his ability to intercept from centre-back Fabinho. So maybe when you get to some of those bigger European games, Fabinho comes back in and plays as a holding midfielder. But right now, yeah, that's the way I go. I think you definitely have to have Thiago in. You didn't bring him in to be on the bench in the big games like Lincoln coming up. But I don't think we'll see him then. But Thiago signs, he plays, and another sign in that I think not many of us saw this one coming. We knew Sarr was an option from Watford. Matt, I'll go to you on this one. Diogo Jota, I've told you I really like him as a player. When he's played against Liverpool, I've been really impressed. What were your initial thoughts when he was linked? What do you think now that you've had time to digest it?
My initial thoughts, I'll be really honest, was crap, I need to look into this fella, see how good he is. It was a player that you're obviously aware of, but it was a little bit out of the blue, to say the least, wasn't it? But it was nice. It was nice to see that sort of a player coming in, and then nobody's been told about it beforehand. It's literally his signed, sealed, delivered that day. So it's great to see the club keeping their business on the wraps in that way. He fits the age profile superbly, and people will maybe say that he's not the finished product. Well, of course he's not. He's 23. Sadio Mane wasn't the finished product, neither was Salah when he came in. You're talking about this lad in 3 or 4 years. He should be the finished product after 3 or 4 years working under Klopp and Pep and Linders and co. So I think it's really exciting signing in the respect that we spoke even last week on here that we need better depth in attack. We have to upgrade on Origi. That was my major thing this summer, and we've now done that. Simple as that. Looks like he's versatile as well, so he can play anywhere across the attack, which, it just gives opponents something to think about. And Jota is a player that could come off the bench and contribute, can score goals. I think he did that a few times for Wolves last season. So, yeah, I mean, it's a superb signing again, yeah.
Chris, you have to sign a player, don't you? People talk about Werner, and obviously I think he's going to be great at Chelsea. Didn't play that well. But you need to sign a player, one that has the talent to be in the Liverpool squad and bring something, but one also that understands he's probably going to be the backup to the front three that, is still firing. So in that regard, have Liverpool, hit the nail on the head with bringing in someone who's proven in the Premier League already?
Yeah, Premier League proven, I think, is a big phrase, isn't it, for people like us in the media. And yeah, Diogo Jota's definitely got that. What I liked about him in his opening interview with the official website was how he said he wants to learn off the front three. So I think he knows, not the pecking order as such, but he knows where or whereabouts he will start. And he said he wants to help, the attack be that little bit better when he can. And yeah, he looks focused. I've seen some highlight clips of him. I've only really seen him in the Europa League, and obviously if he's
in Europa, yeah,
against Liverpool, and he looks like he's confident on the ball, some real good finishing. But what interested me was yesterday I looked at some heat maps. Everybody loves a heat map, and his average positioning is pretty much similar to Christian Pulisic, to Timo Werner, to Sadio Mane. So he obviously fits a particular type of style of player. And Liverpool have seen that, analysed him, and gone for him. And yeah, it was pretty fast, wasn't it? I think yesterday, when it was coming out that he was going to sign, it went from Liverpool are interested to Liverpool have signed him. I think it was like 67 minutes. So yeah, there was no messing around. Obviously, the club working very hard in the background, but once the information was put out there, it motored very quickly.
Same agency, of course, that reps Fabinho as well. So, a lot easier to keep it on the wraps. With that, he doesn't get involved today. Obviously, signed out late. Lincoln in the Carabao Cup. Last couple of years, Liverpool in domestic cups, it's almost like Klopp is saying, do I have to go? I mean, is there any way that, it just seems there's very little interest. But you look at the squad now, and we've talked about midfield, Jota coming in. There's a real opportunity for, this team, or even if it's not the starting 11, to go on and do some damage in one of these domestic cups, starting with the Carabao Cup with a draw against Lincoln, right, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see us win like a domestic cup or two, because it's just another trophy. We all want to win trophies at the end of the day, whether that's us as fans or the players too. So it would be nice just to get one of those and just sort of add them up, collect them. Why not? And you look at how strong a lineup we could put out against Lincoln, and obviously thereafter rounds, and it's really strong. It's a team that would be mid-table in the Premier League. We're talking about obviously Adrian, Neco Williams. Centre-backs are a little bit unsure in terms of who might start there with the injuries. Maybe Gomez is back to be able to come back in. But you look at midfield and, you said it, Keith, I can't see Thiago actually playing because there's no need for him to. He's got that fitness already. So you're looking at Milner, Curtis Jones, players like that. But then the attacking options now, all of a sudden you're like, well, if you play, let's say, Jota on the left, Minamino and Origi, well, you still haven't used Shaqiri or Harvey Elliott. Harvey Elliott was starting these games in the League Cup last year. So there's loads of options. Costas, the other debutant. So it's a strong squad. It gives us the option to be able to keep those players fit so that when they are needed in the Premier League. So I'd love to see us keep going, put more into it.
Chris, who needs this the most out of the squad for you? The linking games to come in, to perform, to just keep themselves in the manager's mind with a good run in the cup competitions.
Pretty much what Matt said there. Some of the youngsters who are on the fringe, but now they're getting challenged by these players coming in. I'd really like to see Jota play. I think, obviously, put my neck on the line. I think he will. Be great for him to get a goal as well. But a little like what you both said, I'm looking forward to this season to see what we can do in the domestic cups, because pretty much for the last 30 years, I've not really been that excited by the FA Cup or the League Cup, because I wanted to see Liverpool win the league. That's been done now. We've won the Champions League a couple of times. So it's all about hoovering up trophies for me. And I'd really like to see Liverpool win the FA Cup. I'd really like to see them win the Carabao Cup. Obviously, I'd like to see them win everything, do the quadruple, which probably is a little impossible. But given the squad they're building, you would expect a little bit further than what we've seen in the domestic competitions, especially this season, as some of those extra legs have been taken away. It is a quick route to glory, in essence, this Carabao Cup. A couple of wins, you're at Wembley, and you've got a trophy under your belt by, not even the end of winter.
Yeah. Well, hoovering up, I like that. I'm going to use that one as well. Hoovering up trophies. Incidentally, we haven't even mentioned Oxlade-Chamberlain, who I know last couple of days has been linked away. I spoke with someone close to the situation. That's not going to happen. Oxlade-Chamberlain wants to be at Liverpool. Liverpool want him there. So another player that has to come back in. But up against, you look ahead to the Arsenal game. That's the next one in the Premier League. It's at home. It's an Arsenal team that looked to be moving in the right direction under Mikel Arteta. Had a different approach last two times against Liverpool. Have had success last two times against Liverpool. What are you guys expecting from this game?
Firstly, I just want to say that well done to you boys for calling it the Carabao Cup, because I didn't know that anybody actually uses that in real life. It's the League Cup or the Coca-Cola Cup or whatever it was when you were little, isn't it? But yeah, the Arsenal game is a tough one. It's a really tough one. I think that's going to be a bigger test than the Chelsea game, because, like you say, the last two times we've played them, they've given us a good game. I fully expect that could be Thiago starting that one. So it will be interesting to see the makeup of the midfield, like we were discussing. I imagine that we'll have too much for them, because we just look on a different quality. Chelsea probably came thinking that they would be able to give us a game, and they couldn't really get a handle on us. We're in an absolutely different class to anybody else in this league right now, in my opinion. So it will be a tough game, but I fully expect that. We just can't see us ever not winning now, really,
Chris, Werner played on that left-hand side for Chelsea, trying to exploit Liverpool, maybe trying to exploit Trent. We saw Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang do it against Neco Williams in the Charity Shield. Expect to see him there again. How did Liverpool combat that? Do you expect him to go with Fabinho again at centre-back, and given how well he played and nullifying the threat of Werner going forward?
Yeah, I would like to see that happen. My only concern is that I think Timo Werner is still getting used to the league. I think he's still getting used to the step up in quality. I know the Bundesliga is full of good quality players, but I think coming in and playing, one of the top two sides of the Premier League is a little different, unless he's playing Bayern again. And he probably wouldn't have wanted to see Thiago anywhere near that pitch. But I think given the opportunities he had today, I think maybe Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang takes one or two of those if he's given the same freedom. But is he given those freedom at Anfield? I'm not sure if he is or not. He's going to be the one to keep an eye on. But a little like what Matt said, at the minute, when Liverpool flick that switch and they go into that second or third gear, they are pretty hard to live with. I mean, I know Chelsea were at a numerical disadvantage, but after the sending off in the second half, some of the passing and some of the patience in the build-up was world class, and I'm hoping that we can just carry on. And I mean, it's starting again, isn't it? Are Liverpool going to look at going on a massive unbeaten run? Can we get this tied up before Christmas? Manchester City, Matt said, are 6 points behind already. That will start to play on their brain. If we can go out and make that 9 points, I think I'll be very, very, very happy, man.
Well, let's end this one, looking at that Arsenal game. I feel like, the two talking points are going to be who's in that midfield three and the prediction on the final score. So again, I think the midfield three for this one, I think Thiago starts, given how deep Arsenal have sat against us in the last two games. I think it's Thiago. I think it's Henderson. I think it's Wijnaldum. And I'm going to go Liverpool. I think it's going to be a tight one. I think it's going to be 2-1. But, massive to go through the first three games, two of them against other traditional big six teams and getting all 9 points. So, Matt, what do you reckon?
I completely agree with what you just said. Everybody looks at that opening run of fixtures and like, oh, that's tough, especially with like Leeds and the sort of unknown quantity. And then after the Arsenal game, it's Villa and it's a relatively winnable set of fixtures in October. And then the Champions League obviously kicks in as well at the same time. So it might be a chance to sort of not rotate massively, but just tweak one or two in and out with the depth that we've now got. So, yeah, but with regards to the Arsenal game, I expect or would like to see definitely the same midfield. I think that it would probably be more likely that Henderson would play the holding role of those. But then that does leave a very interesting question whether it would be Fabinho or Gomez at centre-back, because if Gomez plays against Lincoln and then does he come back in for the Arsenal game or does he stick with Fabinho there? So that will be interesting. I was going to say 2-1 as well because I figured that Aubameyang will probably steal one, but as soon as you've taken that, I'll just go nice, clean 2-0 again. That
would be nice. By the way, Chris, in this game, I actually think, I said Henderson long-term in that role. I actually think Thiago's going to play as the holder with Henderson and Wijnaldum either side of him. I know, again, some of the people in England that haven't watched him, they had me convinced Thiago was the number 10 who sits just off the striker, but he's best as a deep line, almost like a deep line playmaker. A little bit in the Xavi Alonso mold. So Chris, going to you, your midfield three and your prediction for Arsenal. Actually, who got this one? Who got the Chelsea one right? I think I might have said 2-0.
Yeah, you did.
That's why I brought it up, obviously. Chris, go ahead. Sorry, mate.
I think because of everything that we've just covered, Fabinho, I think he was man of the match for me because of the way he policed Chelsea's attacking. I know obviously Mane played very, very well, but I think asking a player to come out of position and play as well as he did, he was my man of the match. I'd like to see him start centre-back. And then, I would agree with the midfield of Thiago, Henderson and Wijnaldum, even though I did say Naby Keita before. I think for this Arsenal game, I think Henderson is the natural leader. He's a captain. I think he needs to be there. I think Thiago needs to be there. And I think those two players allow Gini Wijnaldum that little bit of forward movement and a little bit more freedom to play in that Holland role or Netherlands role, if you want to call it. And I was going to say 2-1. I'm glad Matt said 2-0 and not 3-1 because I would have had to go 4-1. So I'm going to stick with 3-1.
Well, hopefully are we ever going to predict a Liverpool draw or loss this season? That's going to be the bigger prediction long term. But, thanks to everyone for joining us and listening in. Make sure if you have any questions or you want to share or something that you want us to talk about, you can catch us on Twitter at This Is Anfield. You can catch myself, Matt and Chris. If you have any complaints, definitely direct them towards Matt and Chris and they'll handle those. But we'll touch base again. We'll maybe look to get back on after the Lincoln game and chat a little bit more in the lead up to that Arsenal game. But I hope you enjoyed it and look forward to you joining us again.